Welcome to the Teachers Talkin' podcast, hosted by Dustin Tatro and Ghazali Abdul Wahab. In this podcast, we discuss all things education and teaching, from innovative teaching methods to challenges to strategies and much, much more. In this discussion or roundtable-based podcast, we bring in educators from all around the world to talk about a variety of education topics so that we can support as many teachers as possible. We want this to be a place of inspiration, personal and professional development, and simply a place where we can elevate education together. Welcome to Teachers Talkin'. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Teachers Talkin'. I'm Dustin, and today I am hosting by myself because I am more than pleased to introduce this week's guest. You know him, you love him. This is a guy who lives for lists and AI, the man of the hour. Drum roll, please. Ghazali is today's guest. Hey Ghazali, how are you?
Good. Can't wait. Excited about this week's topic
Same
and being
here.
a guest at this really hot, exciting podcast.
It is absolutely a hot podcast. So, everybody, today's episode is titled AI Transforming Education Innovation Meets the Classroom. We're going to explore the latest developments in artificial intelligence and how it's changing the face of teaching and learning. And so, our guiding question is, how can educators harness AI to enhance instruction while maintaining the human connection that makes great teaching possible? And I'm just excited that Ghazali is the guest to talk about this today. He has been leading professional developments around AI in education. He's been a keynote speaker around this topic. And so, these are the questions that he loves asking all of our guests. And so today we get to tap into the brain of Ghazali. So before we dive into the discussion, buddy, can you just share a little bit about what your journey in educational technology itself has been like, and really what drew you to focus on AI in education over these last few years?
Oh wow, it's been a bumpy ride. I guess it started during the pandemic when everybody was at home. Then that was when I realized how important tech is to education. And you saw the results based on the PISA. We have this worldwide exam called the PISA exams where uh, different take part. And for my country, Singapore, we emerged from the pandemic actually improving in our scores for math and science. So that was amazing when you have like three quarters of the world dropping in their results. And this was one of the main reason. I think it was solely based on the use of ed tech so that students could carry on learning at home. So that really woke me up. So I was thinking about what should I focus on that can help impact my students in the years to come after the pandemic is over. And as I was thinking, suddenly that year in November, I still remember it was during the holidays, ChatGPT came out. And then I tried it out and it just blew my mind. I just said, I think this is going to be the next frontier of education. And I've put all my efforts into learning about AI, and I think it's bearing fruit. Yeah.
So talk to us a little bit about, a lot has been happening in AI, especially since
Whoa.
2020 and, really getting into it. So
Yeah,
what are the
man.
most exciting AI developments that are happening in education right now? And how are they already starting to impact classrooms?
Oh, so many. In so many ways. Okay. So, to narrow down the scope, I'll be just talking about generative AI, ChatGPT, and it's like
Okay.
um, this tool is amazing. It has so much potential, and in these 2 years, in my application of the AI in my classroom, I can already see the impact it has on my students. So it's bringing in results that I can see. Yeah, so it's no longer guesswork. Like we think it will impact education. No, that's long gone. I can actually see the actual impact of AI on my students. Yeah, but of course, you got to use it right and in the right way and prepare the ground. You cannot just rush into AI just because oh it's the next big thing and you got to have it. No, that's a recipe for disaster. So, in terms of the human aspect and the education aspect, I see the point of view that AI is meant to deliver content, which frees the teachers' time so that they can be more, they can build the teacher-student relationship better. Yeah, but when I apply AI in my classroom, I see something a bit more different. I see a combination because in application of AI, when the students see their success, it naturally builds the teacher-student relationship because the students begin to trust you in your use of AI in the classroom. So this human aspect, it's not a simple dichotomy. It's more of a mixture. So when you use AI, you don't lose your human aspects or the humanness of your pedagogy. In fact, if you, in certain ways, it can actually enhance it. And maybe later I'll talk to more about specific examples of how I use it in the classroom to
Well,
show this
actually,
effect.
that's actually where I was going to go with that
Ah,
question. So I was curious if you could walk us through some real world examples of AI tools that you're using today to support student learning.
okay. A really powerful example is most one of the most recent one. So I have this issue. My students want to get into tertiary education. They want to go into the polytechnic. So one way of getting into the polytechnic is through this thing we call the EAE, which is the early admissions exercise. Now, the early admissions exercise involves different levels. It's like getting a job. You go through interview. You got to set up your resume. So what my students, when they ask me for help, so one of the things I do is I use ChatGPT to help refine my students' um, resume in that sense, to make it more persuasive, to correct their grammar, to use better vocabulary, right? So that's just the first stage, right? Then I guess because there's a second level, which is the interview stage. That's much harder. You can't fake an interview stage. You see the examiner face to face, right? So that
Mhm.
really stresses my students out, right? So they came to me and they say, we need help with the interview phase. We're not confident of being interviewed. We've never been interviewed before.
Mm,
So um, I decided to turn to AI again. I used Gemini to create a chatbot that actually trains my students by becoming the interviewer. So as my students sit there in front of the laptop, the chatbot questions based on what is the most likely questions that the interviewers in the polytechnic or course that they want to go would probably ask.
mm,
Okay, then they reply instantaneous feedback. So imagine you can have a class of 30 students, and if you run this, they can all go and do it at the same time. You're only one teacher, right? So what you can do then is focus on the really weak ones. Yeah, but what I do is that I will take a scan, then I will human element to it because there's certain things that AI cannot do. For example, AI cannot tell your students, hey, you're slouching, hey, you're frowning, where's your eye contact? Smile, for goodness sake. Yeah, so these are the things that I can, as a teacher, see what my students are doing, their body language. Yeah, that's a typical uh, part of being a human being, how we communicate through the use of body language, which AI can't detect yet, I would
mhm.
say, but I think it's coming. Yeah, that's why I always have to cover it with the word yet. And guess what? My class, if I'm not mistaken, we had the most number of students into the EAE program.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's incredible.
yeah. So I can see it. It has a tremendous impact. Not potential anymore. I'm talking about real impact on
Mhm.
students' learning.
So It's making me wonder, your students are you actually have your students interacting with different AIs. How have you gone about teaching your students how to use it appropriately? Like you talked about how they use it to check their grammar and work with their essay writing. I love what you're talking about, even with being able to do a bot that can help to interview them and really give them that practice, because that's very differentiated, which is super cool. But how do you teach your students to use AI properly and for in the proper ways, versus having it write an essay for them?
Okay, so this a very good question, and a very critical one, because if you use AI wrongly, as many studies have shown, it can lead to cognitive atrophy. They don't get smarter, right? They could even decline in their ability to think and make critical thinking. So a good example, when we do writing skills, right? What do we do first before we even write? We plan, right? So we have to do the planning stage. Now, for my students, most of the time when in the planning stage, they draw mind maps of what the essay should be. Okay. The temptation is to just use a mind mapping AI tool. There are many on the market, XMind, Idea Map. So to generate the mind map and then show the students and let them see, look, this is what your mind map should be. And then the students just write the essay. Okay. So they don't learn anything if you do that.
Hmm.
So what the better way, okay, and it's all about sequencing. The better way is to let them produce the mind map first, no matter how imperfect it is. It's okay, we're all humans. uh, we get used to it, then later show what the AI is able to produce, the perfect or near perfect visualization, and then compare the two. So when the students compare, they actually see, oh yeah, that's a good idea, why didn't I think of that?
Hmm.
Metacognition is triggered. Oh, I would like to use that particular idea in my essay. Okay, so they're starting to think and expand their ideas on their own through the use of what the AI produce with what they have produced. So the thing that I want to teach my students is that what they produce, the initial mind map, is still valuable. It's a valuable piece of tool that shows me as an educator where they are at, and then the AI tool shows my students where they could be and what's the possibilities and what's missing, and then they can actually take this out and put it into their own mind map, and it becomes part of them, part of what they have produced, and from there they can then generate their own essay. And then that's the second stage. When they actually do the essay, they can chatbot that I designed to get instantaneous feedback on what are better vocabs to use, what are grammatical mistakes that they're making, what sentence structure, what stylistics they can use to improve. So it's more self-directed, which is what learning should be, rather than teachers spoon feeding. So this is what I always tell during my workshop. If the teacher is working harder than the students, then something is wrong, because the students are the one taking the exam, not you. So they should be working harder than you, right?
Hmm.
So yeah, in a gist of things that um, I have used in the classroom. So I've used lots more, but don't worry. As we carry on, I'll talk more about it.
Well, and you started now talking a little bit about how this now becomes, personalized for students. And I mean, what I hear you saying too is that you really scaffold the use of AI, and everything you do is not all just like using tech and using AI. Like you're doing a mind map is a very physical thing. And so, but then being able to generate an exemplar from AI to assist with that. So you're really scaffolding how students are using it, and even from the writing of the essay, and then going and saying, okay, now give me feedback on this essay. Whereas so many students are apt to just take the prompt and just like put it in and see what it's going to generate for them. So
Yeah,
the scaffold, I think, starts to take that sort of thing away.
yeah.
But when you talk about using it as in a personalized way, you know, what does that really start to look like in practice? And what are some AI powered personalized learning tools that you would recommend people, check out and potentially use to help with personalized learning?
Oh, okay. So for personalized learning, I think Google is doing a good job. They are way ahead with Notebook LM. So Notebook LM now can produce mind maps, can flashcards for you to study, translate to different languages, and it can even produce video clips. And the best part, it can even produce podcasts. Dustin, we're out of a job. It can produce podcasts that you can interact with. That's something we can't do. So you can actually talk to the podcasters, and that's simply so. When it comes to so this is where in in the realm of education, you want to put the tools in the students and allow them to use it ethically, power their learning. And this is a very good example of one of the tools that can be used for to that end, because you can already see, um, if they use it in the right way, how much more learning can take place, especially without having to have a teacher standing behind you looking over your shoulder and then guiding you. You let AI do that job, right? And of course, I wouldn't say that the teacher's not necessary. The teacher is still necessary because you got to be the facilitator. You got to be the person who ensures that everything goes on well, and that the output that AI gives is the one that you want your students to receive. Yeah.
So I think that talking a little bit about how teachers then use AI. Um, and I think that you're really talking about how AI can serve as an assistant of
Yeah.
in some way to teachers. Um, so tell us a little bit about that. Like, how can teachers use AI as, personalized assistants, or in ways to help them? Because we are really focused right now on just how you can use it in the classroom with your students, but how can teachers use it, in an assistant way and to help them along their path?
Oh, so that's very good. Let's distinguish the two user AI. First, the one that we discussed previously, that is student facing. So the students face the AI, they use it. So now we are moving towards teacher facing. How does the teacher use AI to help them be more productive or more impactful in the classroom? So you already have many tools which are free available. You just have to explore. For example, like Kamigo, you can go in and you can produce lesson plans. Is very fast. The earlier tools, and just to show how quickly the technology is developing, the earlier tools will produce a lesson plan, like ChatGPT can produce. In Kamigo, you can actually highlight of the lesson plan and again use AI and say, I want this to be improved. Uh, in what way do you want it to be improved? Change the activity. It's too boring. Or my students, there are a few students who have special needs. Change this activity so that it is more inclusive. So it's very very structured, and I like the way that it has like uh, before the lesson, during the lesson, even after the lesson, what is the checkout activities. So it's very detailed. So that's only the lesson plan aspect. Then you have your interactions with parents, writing your emails, for example. Okay, this can be a bit controversial, because I'm sure as parents you don't like, or you don't want to be talking to a chatbot, do you? You want to talk to a real human being. But this is where we need to make a distinction. Okay, the ideas that I want to convey, what I want to tell the parents, those are my ideas, right? The chatbot or the chat GPT is just helping me refine my ideas, and most of the time making it clearer and less, convoluted, too much jargon, easily understood. Because my main consideration is I want parents to understand where I'm coming from. So you're not talking to a robot, you're talking to me, and I'm using the AI to be as effective a communicator as possible. In the end, it's for the benefit of the child. So that's where I see it. Yeah. So that's another thing. The email. But you know what? The One of the most powerful things I came across recently, I actually took samples of my students' work. I fed it into the AI, and I asked the AI to analyze for me the mistakes that my students keep making from this one, writing number two, writing number three. What are the repeated mistakes they keep making despite my interventions? Okay, then it will highlight. Then I will ask, why are my interventions not working? Okay. Then third, can you design for me a better intervention that can help the lesson stick in the minds of my students? Okay. Fourth, produce for me the worksheets that my students can practice so that they improve quickly. Okay. Fifth, can you provide a write up, of tips and guidelines, and resource materials to help my students learn more about this topic? And it generated like a 12-page um, notebook, notepad, right? So and that's so powerful, and that is just for one kid, and it took me less than 10 minutes to do, right?
And what AI tool are you using to do that?
I You can use Gemini, you can use Claude, you can use ChatGPT. They all accept uploaded. You can upload files as long as you can upload the student's work. And previously, it can't read handwriting, right? Guess what? Now they can all read handwriting. As long as you can read your student's handwriting, the AI can read it. So if you can't read your student's handwriting, you got another problem there. AI won't be able to read it either. They'll guess. Just like what we do when we can't read the student's handwriting, we guess. They probably mean this word. Yeah. Give them the benefit of the doubt.
You've talked often about using chatbots to do things. For
Yeah.
our you know for our listeners who are really new to AI, and all they've really done is use Chat GPT in a basic way. Um, Tell us, what is a chatbot, and how do you build one that suits your
Uh,
purposes?
well, you can build one within ChatGPT itself or Gemini. They call them different things in different platforms. Gemini, Gems, ChatGPT call them. What did they call them, Dustin? GPT?
I
Because
think
I
they
don't
just
use ChatGPT.
GPTs.
GPTs. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I like to use Poe. Yeah. So to create my chatbots. So what are chatbots? The difference between a chatbot and like ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini is that the knowledge base, where the knowledge that it uses to respond to the for your ChatGPT, the knowledge base is going to be all the data that it has been trained on, maybe the internet and all these things, which is the reason why it tends to hallucinate, because there's too much data. It doesn't know which one to pick. But if you use your own chatbot, you can actually upload information that you want it to refer to mainly in providing the answer. So, for example, when I create a chatbot on giving feedback to my students who are undergoing the O level exams, I upload the O level marking rubrics into the knowledge base. So, when the chatbot is giving the feedback, it's constantly referring to the O level marking rubrics, so that the answer will be tailored to our system. Otherwise, you never know the feedback that is giving. It could be from the IB program, it could be from the SATs, it could be from the other exams from other countries. Yeah. But
Mhm.
for my students, they need to do the O level exams, so they get the O level marking rubrics kind of feedback, which then the students are more familiar with because they see it throughout almost every day in their writing. They have the rubrics. Yeah, then they will see, okay, I understand what this feedback is trying to tell me and how to improve, rather than suddenly they get something from SATs and they go, huh? What? What's this? So it's more targeted and less prone to hallucination because it's just a small sample size, small database. Yeah. And you can change like your school's information into the knowledge base, and it can become a chatbot for parents. They can just query it and ask things about your school, so that they don't have to keep calling you and ask you stuff. Yeah, they can ask the chatbot, talk to the chatbot instead. Yeah.
So, we're talking about types of AI tools, and the
Yeah.
fact that AI is simply growing in its presence in education. So, what are some things that educators need to be mindful of when they're integrating AI tools? What are the traps? What are the things that you would say teachers should continue to do on their own without the use of AI versus with the use of AI?
Wow. Okay, so that's a deep, deep topic. We're heading into the deep, deep hole of AI. Um, okay, so maybe firstly, what to be careful about. Tell your kids, right? Don't put don't put your bank account number in. don't even use your real name, preferably. Yeah. So when I upload things like the students' work in there, so it's just a piece of writing. Yeah, because you never know what the AI is being trained on. So everything you feed it is learning from it. That's how it gets better. So we wouldn't want them to learn your bank account number better through that. So personal data. So in terms of security, be careful about that. Secondly, because it is so powerful, this is the paradox of the thing. You see, because it's so powerful, it is also very attractive. And there are two issues here. Firstly, because it's very powerful and attractive, students tend to use it a lot. And when they use it a lot, they then tend to be over reliant on it. Hence, that again can lead to the problem of cognitive atrophy of over reliance on the use of AI. Secondly, because it is attractive, it becomes a moral dilemma. Okay, so in the student's mind, for example, if you give a simple homework like describe a interesting location, okay, as your homework. So the students could go home and actually do the mind map, plan the essay, write the essay, edit it, revise it, and produce a good piece of work to submit. That probably takes 2 hours. Or they could just ask ChatGPT to write it and get the piece of work in 30 seconds, and then go off and play their whatever the kids are playing online these days. Yeah, so that 2 hours of heavy intensive work, which is the intention of the homework, versus 30 seconds, and then I can go and play and enjoy myself. It's a tremendous attraction, which unfortunately many of our kids are hard to resist. Hence why you have all these AI cheating, the use of AI for doing homework. AI becomes more and more powerful. Um, the thing is that it becomes harder and harder for teachers to even design homework that is AI proof. Yeah. So it makes it harder. So for example, when we used to give a homework, describe an interesting place, right? So now what we do is we can tell them to, as a homework, produce a ChatGPT essay on an interesting place. Okay. But before that, you have to write an essay of an interesting, analyze the ChatGPT essay, look at your essay. What does the ChatGPT essay have that yours does not? What aspects or elements of style, grammar, punctuation, vocabulary that you can take from ChatGPT and apply it to your piece of writing to make your writing better? And that is your homework. Write a report below on that you found, how your writing has improved, and what you like or dislike about the way that ChatGPT writes. Then that triggers their cognitive thinking abilities. Uh, but I'm starting to see a issue. My students now starts writing like ChatGPT. So you know all these things that ChatGPT does. You know the M dashes and the rule of trees and the complex sentences. So it they are sounding without even using ChatGPT, and this could also be an over reliance issue. They are writing like ChatGPT, which is not bad because if you follow the rubrics, technically you should be getting a high score. But when your more and more students start writing like that, right, then your high score, if you follow a bell curve, the high score then goes down to an average score because everybody writes like that.
Mhm.
So that's another issue I see. How in the age of AI, the big problem now is how do you find your voice and your individuality in a place where AI becomes ubiquitous.
Okay, so we talk about the pitfalls on the student. How about on the teacher side of things? Because there's adults out there who also have an over reliance on AI and doing things. So let's talk a little bit about that.
You're talking
And
about me.
I'm not, but it's true. I think the same way that students are also starting to become more over reliant because it's easy, because it's attractive, adults do the same thing. And if adults are doing it, then who are we to tell our students not to do the same thing? So
Mm.
where do we draw that line in your opinion? What are the things that are still the hard, you should do this on your own, that you shouldn't really be using AI to do this type of task, versus the things that we should be using it for to help save time and etc.
Okay, that's a tricky one. I am assuming that as adults, it's easier for us to see the line and rather than the kids who just become over reliant. As adults, we can see the line better, but I also agree with you that once you become over reliant, whether you're a kid or an adult, the lines get blurred. So as an adult, um, I would say if you are trying to learn a new skill, you can AI to help you get to the next level, especially if you're hitting plateaus, right? To get to the next level, but you don't use AI again to the final product. Never get AI to produce the final product unless you want to see what it is and you want to see the gap of your learning where you are from, right? So that's a caveat there. Try not to final result first at least, and then you can then see this is when it comes to skills. But when the second point to illustrate better, how do I use it in my own career growth, right? So every year, around this time when it's the holiday period for me, I will sit down with my AI and I will reflect on how the year has gone. Things my I would chart my growth throughout the year, what I've done, what my weaknesses. Um, okay, then I would ask for AI to help me see or envision where my areas of growth are for the following year. Okay, and then it will give me certain broad categories, right? Then as a human being, I take charge of my own destiny. I look at those categories and I say, oh yeah, okay, so these are three things I want to focus on. I'll take those three things and again I'll put it into the AI and I'll say, okay, in these three areas, specifically in education as a teacher, what do I need to do to grow? Design for me an outline or a course or a module or a timeline, anything, resources to help me grow in those areas. Then I will get those things. And then comes the hard piece of work. I will actually do them to make sure that I get better in those areas. Part where you actually do the work.
Mm.
That is the important. The AI again, as you mentioned before, is like a scaffold, a pathway, a guide, right? But you have to do the work, and that is the place where of improvement, where growth happens when you do the work. When you get stuck in doing that work, this certain area, maybe stage three of the plan that AI designed for me, then I'll take the stage three in again. I'm stuck here. I can't seem to get level, and the reason why is because I keep failing at this or that, or learning, or I can't remember certain things. Can you make my learning easier? What can I do? So you see, the AI becomes more like a partner. It's like, in Iron Man, Tony Stark has Jarvis to help him out. Yeah, so use it in that way to like to be a human multiplier. Yeah, to make you better as a person and in what you do, and that your career growth.
Okay, so how do you see the role of AI in education evolving over the next, I don't know, couple of years? I would love to say 5 to 10 years, but man, the way that it's moving, I don't even know if we can look it out that far. But
Yeah,
what are some transformations? What are some things that are coming on the horizon that educators should start preparing for?
uh, it was. Yeah, I have to describe an amazing visit that my school went for recently to Samsung. So over at Samsung, we went to see what are the latest AI technology being developed in different fields, and then we had a workshop where it was just on what is the latest tech that AI is currently developed or being able to do. So, can you guess what is the latest thing that AI can do?
Tell me.
All right, so it's called vibe coding. Vibe coding. Vibe coding basically means that if you have a problem, you can you can let AI design an application, an app that solves your problem. Amazing. And you don't even have to be a programmer. You don't need to know a single line of code. So I've seen during this particular workshop, my teachers who have problems teaching a particular concept in mathematics, or certain dry topics. So they actually vibe coded like a Pokemon game. So if the students solve the mathematical equation, they get a Pokeball and they can throw, and then they can catch a Pokemon.
Hmm.
So it becomes a game, a gamification tool, yeah, for teaching that particular topic. And it took them less than 5 minutes to design that application. So, and the interesting thing was, when we were using, I think it was Gemini 2.5. The day after that, 3.0 Pro came out. So the teachers went, "Wow! If we did what we did yesterday, imagine what we can do now, one day later, when the whole new model comes out that is even more powerful." And it's just growing and growing. So that's one of the tremendous use case of AI right now. So basically, you can just tell the AI to design for you a website, right? And you can populate the website with your course materials. You can populate the website with your video clips, with your lesson documents, right? And then the students can just access it anytime. So that becomes a solution to a problem that was a major concern during the pandemic 2 years ago. Eh, no, pandemic a few years ago, right? Now it's more or less solved if you apply it in the right way.
So then with that, what are some skills that you think educators should be now to help them thrive in this, AI enhanced educational landscape that we have?
Wow. Okay. Most important, actually, what I realized is not the skill. It's not a skill. Like I showed you how AI can help you obtain the skill so easily, right? By the way, I'm using AI to help me become a better chess player. Go and check it out on my LinkedIn. Trying to get into my MOE team, you know. And for me, I think the big shift came about because of a mindset shift. I used to be a person who didn't like the use of tech. I hardly use any technology in the classroom until pandemic came, and then I was forced to use technology. Then I saw its impact in the classroom. Then I became a believer, right? And I never looked back since then. So what it takes is actually a mindset shift. So you need to cultivate that idea that no matter how old you are, um, the technology is there to help augment you in your role as an educator. It's not to replace you, right? So it's meant to augment you and make you become a better educator in the topic that you want to teach, right? To improve your pedagogy. It's still a tool, albeit a very powerful one, but it is still a tool that you have control over to use in the classroom to help your students improve. So it's a mindset shift first. Then second thing, once you are bought into the idea that this is the direction I want to go, you don't have to learn everything all at once. No, it can't be done. The technology development curve is very steep.
Mm.
The human capacity to learn is not as steep. Yeah, so there's always that gap. Yeah. So don't try to learn everything. Just take one thing and learn it well, and then use that to help you in the classroom, so that you are maybe you have the first you are seen as an innovator. You are seen as someone who is a thought leader, even, right? Although I don't like to use that word, it gets overused. You tend to be somebody who people turn to when they have problems with AI. All right, and you actually only know those few tools. I don't know everything about AI. It's just that I know a few tools, and maybe to help our listeners get started, right? This holiday break, or if you have time, get started with take a look at what Google's doing. They are really, really very advanced. Take a look at Notebook LM. if you can master notebook LM, which is really not difficult, and you can do it very fast because it's very fun. And it can be a huge multiplier in your lessons. Imagine you can produce a podcast on any topic you teach, a podcast that your students can listen to, right? We used to be very, visual, teachers in the classroom. They just see things, they see presentations, they see text, they see words. Now they can actually use their hearing, auditory, they can hear things, right? And second tool, for your own personal growth, there's a good tool that you can use, which I'm using right now. It's called Idea Map. IdeaMap.ai, I think. Idea Map produces mind maps, and of course, in the classroom, I use it for planning of the students' essay. But it's not designed for that. It's designed for solving problems. So you have any issues, any things you want to learn, any problems, you just plug it into IdeaMap and it will generate a mind map of possible solutions. And then each of these nodes can be then further developed using the AI in that tool. So this is what I use to help me figure things out. Sometimes you just get stuck,
Mm.
and or you are or you get stuck trying having to plan an event, school event, and then this mind map will just generate for you all the things you need to figure out and think about. Yeah, so that's another very very powerful tool for your own thinking. Yeah. So I would say just start with these two things. Have fun with them because you can use these two things in your classroom and for your own personal growth. So why not? Then slowly you learn other things that help you do more specific things. Of course, you need to have one of the LLMs, either ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini. Yeah, one of these at your fingertips as well to help you out. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Ghazali, thank you for coming on and being a guest instead of a co-host this week. Really just,
My pleasure.
yeah, I mean, we get so often you bring up and we chat about AI with our guests, and you and I have been talking offline about AI for so long, and we've been wanting to do this episode for quite a while. I just appreciate you, talking to our listeners at a real basic level. Some of our AI chats, I know, even for me, have gone, there have been parts that have just gone like over my head, and so I think there's so
Keep it
many people
simple.
out there. There's so many educators I meet who like are trying to dip their toes into AI even today. They're still trying to figure it out, even though it's exploding. And just, I don't know that everybody always knows exactly what to use or how to use it. And you laid it out in a much more simple way. So just appreciate you coming on as a guest this time and imparting your knowledge.
Thank you, Dustin. My pleasure. It was fun. I can talk about AI nonstop. I didn't know we reached the end. I thought we just started.
I know, right? But our conversations always feel like they just started, even though we get like an hour down the road. So before we wrap things up, buddy, do you have any other final thoughts, any other advice that you'd like to share with educators regarding AI in education, or where to start, or anything?
Yes. So final things. Just get started. You don't have to figure out where, what, when. What. Just start. Just pick one thing and begin. That's how learning takes place. That's how you progress. Improve 1% a day. The knowledge base that you want to get better. And before you know it, at the end of the year, you're an expert.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Ghazali. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Also, just want to say thank you to especially our, just all of our listeners. But it's Thanksgiving here in the United States, and so I just want to say that I am thankful for this podcast, Ghazali. I'm thankful for you as a co-host and as a friend. And I'm really thankful for all of our listeners, for all of the people who have come on and been guests. I'm just really grateful that we have this small platform to be able to share thoughts and ideas and strategies and stories. And, this is a time of gratitude for us. And so I want to say happy Thanksgiving to all of our American listeners, and just thank you so much for being on this journey with us, and being a part of what we're doing here. And of course, if you found this episode to be valuable, Please subscribe, leave us a review, share it with fellow educators who are curious about AI in education or anything education, related. Together, we can really embrace innovation while keeping students at the heart of everything that we do, which is what this whole conversation was about today. Don't forget that new episodes drop every other Monday. And if you have stories to share, strategies to share, and you just want to talk education, we'd love to have you on as a guest. Just sign up in the form in our show notes. You don't need to be an expert about anything, just passionate about discussing education. So as always, and once again, thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for more insightful episodes to come. Keep learning, keep growing, and keep making a difference in your classrooms. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.